Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcom. Today I'm doing a sweet and spicy honey chipotle rib. I've got a slab of St. Louis cut spare ribs we're gonna get seasoned up. Putting them on the Weber Kettle, get a little smoke rolling. They're gonna be sweet, they're gonna be spicy, they're gonna be delicious. Let's get to cooking. So I'm starting with a big slab of Compart Duroc St. Louis cut ribs. Now these are meaty, they've got a good marbling in them, and you could use baby backs if you want to. You could even do the whole spares this recipe. I like that St. Louis cut, makes neat bones. The fat to lean ratio is excellent on them, and they taste delicious. I want to get a little bit of a binder on them, and since we're going sweet and spicy, I'm starting with a hot sauce. This is going to bring some heat right out the gate, but it has a ton of flavor too. You could use your favorite hot sauce. Mine has some cayenne pepper in it, a little bit of garlic kind of to balance it out some. It's not super hot, but if you really want to burn them down, go with something spicy. And once we get a good layer of the hot sauce on, we're ready for our seasoning. And I'm using my buddy Heath's Honey Chipotle seasoning on this one. I want that spicy honey chipotle flavor, so that's what we're going with. Not caking it up. Hot sauce is going to help it stick a little bit. We're gonna flip them over, do the exact same thing. Just a few dashes of hot sauce, kind of rub that in a little bit. Then we're gonna come back with our dry season, the honey chipotle. Just gonna pat it in gently. And we're gonna let these ribs hang out here on the cutting board while I fire up the Weber Kettle. Now to get the Weber fired up, I'm starting with a chimney full of royal oak briquettes. Got a couple tumbleweeds underneath. It's gonna make those coals good and hot. We're gonna set up a 2-zone fire in this Weber. I'm gonna keep all my hot coals on one side, add a little bit of fresh coals so we can get a slow burn. And on the opposite side, I'm placing an aluminum pan. So now I'm gonna add some chunks of hickory wood. And I've just got some small chunks. I'm gonna scatter them around, kind of on some of the hot coals and on some of the unlit. That's gonna let it burn across and give us some smoke. And in the aluminum pan, we need some liquid. You could use water, you could use apple juice. I'm adding a couple cans of beer. It's not really adding any flavor to the cook, but it's adding some mass from the volume of that liquid that's in there. It's gonna help the heat distribute evenly on that side of the grill. Put the cooking grate in place, and now we're gonna adjust the vents. We want it about a quarter open on the bottom, that's the intake. And on the top, we're gonna run it about a quarter too. We're not grilling steaks here. We wanna check those temps back, hold it about 300-degree range. It's gonna be perfect for smoking ribs. Check out how these ribs have sweated in after about 35 minutes. They are looking absolutely fabulous. Well, it's time to put them on some smoke. So all I'm gonna do is take the wide side of the ribs, place that towards the hot coals, just like this, over that heat pan. They're gonna smoke about 2 hours till they get some good colors on them. We'll come back, check on them. If we need to rotate them, we can. We just wanna keep them on that cool side the whole cook. Let's get the lid closed and let these ribs get a good smoke bath. So our ribs have been on for about an hour. It's time to take a look at them. We're probably gonna need to rotate them a little bit. We still got some liquid in the pan below. It's simmering, our fire's looking good. Starting to get some color. Still seeing some good moisture on it. But I think I am gonna go ahead and rotate them around. Gotta let them cook even. They're doing good. One more hour, it's gonna be time to wrap these sweet and spicy ribs up. So it's been almost 2 hours on this slab of Compart ribs, and they have all the color I want. When you start seeing them trying to dry out, we're getting some of that mahogany, that bark color on them. You can touch them, the rub doesn't come off. That's when you wanna get them wrapped up. We don't wanna get them any darker. But we're gonna take these ribs over to the cutting board. So to get these ribs tender, we're gonna wrap them up in 2 layers of aluminum foil. This is where I'm gonna add some more sweet and some more spice to it. First, I'm starting with a few pats of butter. So to add some sweet and some heat to it, I'm using Mike's Hot Honey. And I found this at my local grocery store. It's a honey that's been infused with different kinds of chilies to give it some heat. It's gonna go great with this honey chipotle season that we've used. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of extra, that honey chipotle rub. Then I'm gonna give it just a drizzle of my vinegar sauce. I'm just gonna put 1 line right on top of the butter. Then we're gonna flip the ribs over and do the same thing to the back side. A few pats of butter, a little more drizzle of the hot honey, a little more seasoning, and 1 line of spicy vinegar sauce. You just wanna wrap them up tight as possible, leave them where we can get back in them, check the temperature. Our temp's running steady right here at 300 to 325 degrees. I've got plenty of coal left. I don't have to add anything else. Now it's all about getting these ribs tender. We'll come back and check on them here in a little bit. All right, the ribs have been in the wrap for 1 hour. Now's where I want to check them and see if they're tender. When you pick them up, you can kind of see how they're bending, they're flexing a little bit. That lets me know they're getting there. We're gonna take them over to the board. So I'm just gonna open the foil up a little bit. I wanna see, we've got some pullback. If I'm hitting 202, 201, 202, 203 right in the center here, that's perfect. These ribs are tender. So I'm gonna transfer them over to a little full boat that I made. Be real careful at this point because they're fragile. So now I'm gonna glaze these ribs with just a little vinegar sauce. We've already got the sweet, the spicy chipotle flavor. We're just gonna brush that vinegar sauce on the bones, all on that back side. We're gonna flip them over and do the same thing to the top side. That's the money side right there. Drizzle it right over the top. Just kind of brush that in just a little bit. Now check that out, that is some beautiful ribs. One last thing, I'm gonna hit them with just a little more, that honey chipotle rub. Super light, right over the top. Cover up any spots where you might see a little bit of fat. They need to go right back on the Weber for about 10, 15 minutes, just long enough. Dry off the top a little bit, set the sauce on them. But those look good enough to eat right now. So now I'm just setting them right back over the drip pan. We've got enough coals still to give us some residual heat. I'm not looking for that 300 degrees right now. I just want it, 225, 250, just enough to kind of melt everything on top. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. You can see that sauce is kind of bubbling in the full. The color looks good on the top. It kind of caramelized over, brings out that mahogany color, that good bark look. These ribs are ready. So I just slid the ribs off the foil here on the cutting board. I'm carefully gonna flip them over so I can cut them up. It's easier to cut them from this side. I'm just gonna take my knife, cut them into pieces. Ooh, little top loin action come right off. I'm gonna have to go ahead and try that. It wants to jump off there like that. You know I gotta try it. That means it's tender. Now I'm just gonna cut them right in between the bones. Cut just like butter. One bone piece is how I like to do spare ribs. No use in a double cut on them. That's a meaty piece of rib. Now for the best part, I'm gonna get one right out of the middle of the rack. I mean, look at that juicy rib. Sticky, sweet, it's gonna be a little spicy, it's gonna be tender. Perfect bite. Oh, that's delicious. First off, you get a little of the sweetness, but then the heat plays in, but it blends out. It's savory, it's sweet, it's smoky. That's the flavors I want in a rib right there. That makes for the perfect eating rib. I like a little bit of spice in my life. Hey, the honey chipotle flavors play so good together in this recipe. We've got the spiciness coming through from the seasoning, from the chilies in the honey. The sweetness of the honey balances it out. We got a little richness from the butter. The vinegar sauce ties it all together. That's a winning recipe. If you like it sweet and spicy, you're gonna like this one. Hey, appreciate y'all hanging out with us here today. If you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok. Shell and I will talk about this recipe, all the other fun stuff we're doing on our weekly podcast. Y'all give that a listen too. We'll see you next time. All right, Shell, what do you think? Are they going? Is it too spicy for you, or is it just right?